Hi everyone, welcome. Thank you for having us here today. BASE is a tech-enabled platform that is data-driven company serving the youth and amateur sports sponsorship industry. My name is Carrie Gamper. I'm joined today by my co-founder, Mark Dvorznak. We both were youth athletes, Division I athletes, and then worked for decades in the sports industry. So before we jump in, I think everyone here saw the volleyball event that's happening downstairs. It's kind of hard to miss. And I think many of you either played youth sports, are connected to the youth sports industry in this day and age as parents, as aunts and uncles, as grandparents, et cetera. And it's pretty clear to see the revolution just from what's happening downstairs that's occurred in the youth sports industry over the last 10 plus years. And that revolution is what BASE is here to capitalize on. So many of us have seen this statistic. Youth sports is valued to be about a $70 billion industry. This is due to the 60 million youth athletes that are playing across the United States worldwide. You think about the compounding community around those 60 million athletes between, again, parents, grandparents, siblings. You're talking a network of 120 to 200 million consumers on an annualized basis. This is an industry that many investors across the United States have already started jumping into. Harris Blitzer, KKR, Susquehanna Capital, et cetera, have all made major investments in the last year just in youth sports. We're familiar with the image on the left. Sponsorship has been ingrained in professional sports, in minor league sports, in collegiate sports for decades. But if you think about the image on the right, youth sports is where families are spending 20 hours a week. They're spending over 100 hours at youth sports competitions all across the United States every single year. And yet fields and courts like the one you see here often go empty or undervalued. This is something I'm intimately familiar with, the opportunity and availability of commercializing and maximizing the opportunity in white space. I worked for Nielsen and their consulting team for the sports and entertainment division, and I did just that. I focused on white space opportunity, strategizing, and valuation. Mark has spent more than 10 years in the youth sports industry, having worked for the national governing body of baseball, for USA Baseball, and Prep Baseball Report, which is one of the largest youth baseball club tournament programs in the country. Our combined skill sets allow us to uniquely support this industry, serving both the brand side and the operator side of the industry. Now, we're not alone. We have an incredible group of investors and advisors that have joined our team. We have individuals with resumes like the CEO of the Cleveland Cavaliers, the CFO, COO of Learfield, the president of the Milwaukee Brewers, and now board member of Foot Locker, among others. So in order to understand sort of why this white space exists in the youth sports industry, we'd like to introduce you to Ken here. Ken is the operator of a youth sports facility that foot traffics about 600,000 consumers annually. That nets about $1 million in revenue. Ken makes the majority of his revenue from rentals, trainings, concessions, and merchandise. But in order to make that revenue, he has to focus the majority of his time on scheduling, on staffing, on training, and spends very little time on marketing and specifically here, sponsorship. Because of that little time, he's got little knowledge, he's got few resources, and he just doesn't have the opportunity to maximize the sponsorship opportunities in his facilities. So enter BASE Sports Group. BASE, our focus is to serve Ken here. We work exclusively as a commission-driven business. We understand that Ken's business is low margin, so we look to support him, allow him to focus his efforts on the operations of his facility, keep his business humming, while bringing in revenue and adding efficiency to him. So we do all of that, as I said, as a commission-only business, taking 50% commission on all sponsorships sold. This has been validated across the market. We are currently active in market. We have multi-year exclusive partnership deals with facilities and events all across the country. We're active in more than 40 states. We have a network reach of about 14 million. We represent 350 events, more than 40 facilities, and have hundreds of thousands of sponsorable assets across the country. So to better understand how we are currently doing this, we go to a brand like Prime Hydration. We understand what their marketing objectives are. Based on those objectives, we consolidate a strategy across our portfolio and then bring them to the facilities and events that we work with. So again, we take 50% commission on all of those sponsorships that are activated and sold in, but Prime has one point of contact working directly with Base instead of all 70 of those. And again, Base takes a 50% commission on all of those sponsorships sold. So Prime last year was in 70 events and facilities across the country with Base's support. Now, Prime isn't the only brand we've been fortunate enough to work with over the our short existence as Base. We've worked with the likes of Papa John's, Army, Pepsi, et cetera. So we work with brands on both a local, regional, and nationalized basis. And the brands span from CSR to military to healthcare. Already in Q1 of 24, we've been fortunate enough to sign with Yeti, Hard Rock, Floyd's Barbershop, Coke, Gel Blaster, among others. So this traction realistically is just scratching the surface of what's possible, and we certainly know and understand that, and we're looking to take advantage of the larger opportunity that exists in the market. And I think it's important to note, not only are these brands taking advantage because of the scale of the youth sports industry, but if you take a look at what's happening again downstairs in the volleyball facility, those individuals are on site from 9 in the morning until 6 p.m. at night because they've got multiple games. And if you think about the demographic that's being served, it's families with high disposable income. It's families that are looking to engage and capitalize on brands that are on site. So we've tracked this. They're spending as much as 80% engagement rate with any on-site and activating brand. So not only is it a large market, it's a highly addressable market. So what Base is doing, as we had mentioned, we're a tech-enabled platform. So we have created and are continuing to develop a two-way online marketplace that will allow us to scale, minimize overhead, maintain our market advantage, and develop larger traction. So as I had mentioned, we're working with some incredible brands. A platform like this will allow, whether it's the corner sandwich shop that wants to take advantage of the foot traffic, or a brand as large as Jimmy John's to increase and improve brand awareness, a platform like this will be able to allow any brand to access the courts and fields where youth athletes play. It is a SaaS marketplace that will also allow operators like Ken to automate billing, improve local outreach, data consolidation, and fulfillment for his sponsorship. So on top of the subscription, the SaaS platform, that Base will also be taking a commission on all of our transactions. So we have had some incredible wins recently. We have been speakers at the US Sports Congress. We've graduated from the SDSI Accelerator. We're active in an accelerator called Vantage Ventures. As I'd mentioned, we have some incredible partners that we've been fortunate enough to work with, and we're continuing to see growth this year. So with that, again, my name's Carrie. I'm here with Mark, and we'd like to take any questions that you might have.
Is this on? Yeah. So great presentation, by the way. Thank you very much. First question is your competition actually a traditional venue owner? Is it actually other companies like your marketplace out there, or is it more traditional kind of brokers, kind of people using smiling and dialing kind of thing?
Our competition, I'm sorry, is that what you say? Our competition is not the business owners, though most of them are potential partners. I think it's more, there are other groups that are agencies, whether it be collegiate agencies like CSMG and Playfly and the like, that are dabbling and interested in the youth sports space, but the majority of them are looking realistically at the scholastic space. Events like the volleyball event that you see here, the club space, that's really where our focus is and our differentiation.
One more question.
Yeah.
On the brands you have, the different venues, are any of those kind of multi-venue? So it's beyond kind of a pilot for one location and then kind of rolling it across your entire platform?
Yes, so as we had mentioned, we worked with Prime this past year, and we put them in 70 events and facilities across the country.
And I think, to go back to your first question a little bit, something very important to note, and the reason that the facilities actually aren't our competitors, they're really our partners. I've lived in that space for the last 10 or 15 years, and it's a massive bandwidth issue as well as a knowledge issue. So as Carrie kind of mentioned in our presentation, they're more worried about the events coming in, the retention rate of parents, the concession stands. And when it comes to partnerships, naming rights, sponsorships, again, the bandwidth and knowledge issue is there. So for us to be able to come in and provide an additional revenue stream that really throughout the entire country is untapped. And if you look at the volleyball event that's going on right now, right, there's 20,000 female athletes and their parents that are on site for 6+ hours. And some of the brands that we're working with, we're doing a special project with Frito-Lay right now. It's a massive initiative company-wide to be able to engage within this space, but they're coming to Base Sports Group in order to figure out a way to, again, kind of blanket the entire country instead of individual facilities.
First of all, great presentation. Thank you very much. I agree that this is a space that this is a need. I just want to understand a little bit more the specific logistics. So are you talking about physical signage in these facilities, and is it more than that? Are there other ways to integrate in a more holistic way?
Very rarely is it exclusively physical signage. So the majority of our partnerships have three main prongs of activation. It's physical signage, activation, and digital components. So depending on the operator and what digital opportunities they can offer, we'll diversify those offerings. But emails in the youth sports space. If you have kids, I'm sure you're familiar, you need to know what court they're on, what they need to wear, any weather updates. So integrating messaging within all of the emails has an incredible open rate and engagement rate, higher than what you might see in most other sports. So email's been highly valuable for us, but many events are now developing apps, so push notifications, social media, so all of those are at our disposal.
All right, and then last question, 2 parts. One, who's responsible for the physical activation on site as far as production, installation? And then how do you measure? I mean, sponsorship nowadays is more and more ROI, KPI specific, and thanks to the work for people at Nielsen, et cetera, that's what the sponsors expect. How do you deliver that on a smaller venue like this?
Sure. So the first question was,
I can start on the first question because I lived in that space for a long time. These facility operators, they are very good at operating facilities. So something as simple as hanging a sign or updating, their 30 TVs in their facility to, across is something very easy. We also are creating partnerships actually with the signage companies that are actually printing and being on site for us. So that's actually a pretty smooth process on our end.
Yeah, the only thing I'd add is we do have a customer success team on within us so that we make sure that everything is seamless. It is the on-site operator that does all of the final activation, but we make sure that it does get delivered upon. And so measuring upon that, what we do is we do have, and youth sports operators, as you probably saw, are sophisticated enough, they now have ticketing, so we are able to track impressions relatively simply. It's adding that next layer of understanding what their marketing objectives are and measuring against them, as you had mentioned. So what we do is we require all of our events to send out post-event surveys and all of our facilities to put surveys out at a regularized cadence. And what we are tracking is everything from consumer demographics, psychographics, to sponsorship performance. And depending upon the brand, they can also opt in and add additional questions to surveys at a fee.
Like unaided awareness, things like that?
All of that's measured, yes. Unaided awareness is measured automatically with all of ours, but if they wanted, so for example, Prime wanted to understand how flavors were performing, so we added additional questions in it for them.
This will be the last question.
That's me. Thank you. Great presentation. Just wondering, how are you really seeding the marketplace, right? Marketplaces are hard to stand up. How are you creating more of that supply and demand and matching it? And where maybe in the country or maybe by club sport, are you seeing the most activation early on?
Yeah, so as we had mentioned, we're fortunate enough to have built an incredible portfolio already of several hundred events and a dozen plus dozens of facilities. And if you get an opportunity to come to our table later, we'd love to show you the MVP that we have built. But what we are currently doing for the MVP is uploading many of our facilities and events directly onto the platform and deploying and beta testing across what's currently in our portfolio. And then we have been working with several government organizations that own and operate parks and rec programs, et cetera, that own and operate youth sports facilities across the country, and they have agreed to come on board we're looking at Q2 of 2024. So we'll have a number of opportunities to take it live and continue to test it later this year.
Great, thank you.
Yeah.